So welcome everyone to the site diagrams webinar, and really glad to see everyone here. We're going to be working through how to do some simple site diagrams both in Rhino and also in Illustrator. And this is going to be our general workflow. We're going to download a site from CAD Mapper, and we're going to change it up and edit it in Rhino. We're going to bring those lines into Illustrator for some color and some line work editing. So let's get started, everyone. Again, sign in to let us know that you're here, and also download the tutorials files from the Dropbox link. I also have the PDF of this slideshow in the Dropbox link, so just feel free to go follow through with that as I'm talking as well. It's also a sort of a manual for you to look back on. So if you get stuck anytime during this tutorial, you feel free to ask Gracie, who's on standby in the chat, or you can also go back to this with the slideshow PDF. Just some links for the digital fabrication consults and also the Illustrator install. So Gracie touched on this a little bit in the beginning, but how will this tutorial be run? We'll be showing you the steps in PowerPoint. Then after each stage, you're going to let you try it for yourself. And then we're going to come back and we're going to share our site diagrams in a Google spreadsheet. So first of all, let's have a look at CAD Mapper and Rhino. So for this tutorial, we've chosen a very small site, and I've dropped this site in the Dropbox link. We're going to cut this down even more to an even smaller area, so it's edited faster for us to edit and also to just manipulate during the session. So everyone, if you could download this file and just open it up ready to go, that'd be awesome. In the next few slides, I'm going to show you how you can use CAD Mapper in the next 2 slides. So this is really useful for your own projects where you might have like a totally different site, maybe not even in Australia. CAD Mapper is really great because it captures global cities and everything. So I'll show you a little bit how that's run. But first, if you want to use this for your own project, you need to create a free account at cadmapper.com, and you need to sign in order to download these free files. So CAD Mapper is really great because it gives you a free file up to 1 kilometer squared. Anything bigger than that, you would have to purchase, but it's pretty good for just sites, small sites in general. So here, when you have this site, we'll go to choose Rhino 5 as the download file we want to download. Then here you can actually set, if there is no available height, then you can set a false height or a default height. You can change that here. You can change the contours and also the road geometry. Then you have to drag this square so that it fits within the 1 kilometer square area, and then you'll be able to create file, which is downloaded as a 3D Rhino file. When you first use this part will be sort of grayed out, but once you move the handles, this part will come up, and then you'll be able to download it. After you've gone to that page and create file, it will ask you, it'll give you some details of the site, and it'll also ask you to download. And then it'll give you a view of what you're going to be downloading. So once you've downloaded that, it's all ready to go as a Rhino file. So everyone, let's, so we're going to use this one here, and then we're going to move to Rhino 7. So I'll give you a brief overview of what we're going to do, and then we're going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to share my screen on Rhino. So once we have the site, we are going to first just check the distances and see that it's actually to scale. You notice that the file will be exported in meters and not in millimeters. Then we're going to create a rectangle that's 50 by 50 millimeters, and we're going to extrude it, and we're going to cut out the site. Then we're also going to cut the topography, which is a mesh. So we're going to use a mesh split to cut it. And then we're going to just trim everything down and cap anything that's open surfaces. Delete any excess surfaces. And we're going to make holes in the topography, so we get really nice, clean building edges. And we're going to do a make 2D in isometric view. And then we're going to get after some cleanup, we're going to get a nice line drawing. And then we'll show you something about some hidden lines later. We'll talk through that. And then we're going to get something like this. And then this is ready for Illustrator export. So that was a really quick overview. And now I'm going to show you what it's like in Rhino. I would also just like to quickly show you that there are a couple of ways to edit in Illustrator. I'm aware that some of you might be more comfortable working in Illustrator because Rhino might be something that's new to you. However, there might be some people who feel fine working in Rhino. So I've sort of given you an option where we can manipulate the lines in Illustrator through something called a layer assignment as well. So once we get these lines, what we're going to do in Illustrator is change these lines to different thicknesses, create different regions for color, etc. So you could simply export this, what you have, straight into Illustrator. But if you want to be more organized, we can do something such as layer assignment. So what that means is a little bit more work in Rhino, but it just basically means we give ourselves separate layers in the Rhino file so that when we export it into Illustrator, we have those layers as groups that we can manipulate on the spot in Illustrator without having to choose the different lines. So for example, here I've got the building outlines as red, which I've grouped in Rhino and joined. And I've also got some roads and greenery. And then this is also ready for export. So this makes it easier for us to choose the building outlines in Illustrator. Then we're going to export the file, and then we're going to move it into Illustrator. All right, great. So everyone, let's try it in Rhino now. I'm going to share my Rhino screen. Okay. So everyone okay and have the Rhino open? Okay. All right, so everyone is probably in their perspective view. I would like everyone to change this to a shade ghosted view. Okay. You can see everything on the site. And we can track this by just typing in distance, and we can just measure something on the file, and we can see that the file is in meters. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a rectangle. So everyone bring up the rectangle command. Just type in rectangle, enter, click anywhere on the screen, and we're going to type in 50. Enter, and another 50 again, enter. Okay, so bring this square anywhere into the site, anywhere you want to cut out. Good to have some buildings in there because we're going to edit some buildings. Once you're happy with where you placed it, we're going to select the square, should be yellow. Then we're going to type in extrude curve. Don't click anywhere just yet. We're going to here choose both sides, yes, solid, no. Both sides, yes, solid, no. And just drag it out so that it's past the site. And we're going to click anywhere. And that should create your extrusion for you. Now we're going to split everything with this extrusion. So select everything. Select your site. We're going to type in split. So that was select the site, type in split. Select your cutting object, which is your extrusion. Press enter. It's going to split your site for you. All right, and then we're gonna select our topography, which is a mesh. So select this topography, and we're gonna type in mesh split. Select topographies, type in mesh split, enter. Select cutting object is our extrusion, enter. And then you should see your mesh split into 2 as well. Okay, so once you've done that, we're gonna go into top view. And we're gonna just delete everything. You see a square here? We can delete everything outside of it. Select everything, delete. So you should be left with a clean rectangle like this. Let's go back to perspective view. You should see something like this. Now we're going to split. So we're going to explode this one. Explode. That becomes 4 surfaces. We're going to now select this site again. We're going to type in, sorry, we're going to select the 4 surfaces. We're going to type in split. So select the 4 surfaces, type in split. Cutting object is our site. Enter. And then we'll be seeing the cutouts of our site here. Okay, let's delete our 4 surfaces. Let's select everything. And we're going to type in cap. Okay, so select this. That's just in case we didn't cap anything. So select this out, select the site, type in cap. Enter, enter. Okay, so yeah, it looks like we're missing some of the surfaces down here, but that's okay. We can fill them out later. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to have to split the mesh so that we get some nice clean lines here. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the topography. We're going to type in mesh split. And then we're going to select our buildings. So on this layers here, we're going to right click, select objects. On the buildings layer, right click, select objects, and then enter. Then you should see when you click on the mesh, some of the outlines of the buildings. So that was select the mesh, right click, buildings layer, select objects as our cutting objects, and then enter. Okay, so you should see something like this now. All the buildings have been capped. And now we're going to choose our view. So in here, we're going to go set view, isometric. And we're going to choose one of these views. Whatever you like. Maybe this one. All right. So once you're happy with this view, select everything. We're going to type in make 2D. Enter. And then here, this is good. We want to see the parallel view. And here, just uncheck hidden lines for now. I'm going to press OK. All right, now go double click on parallel. Let's go into top view. Zoom out. And near the origin, you should see a line drawing of your building or your buildings. Okay, so for some of you, there might be some missing lines. Let's see if we have any missing lines. So for us, it seems like it's okay for my site, but for some of you might be missing a few lines that you wish were there. So to fix that, you can do make 2D again, and here just click hidden lines. That's okay. And then you can bring some of the lines that we're missing over, like that. Okay. All right. So once you have something like this, we have to now start to clean up some of our drawings. So you see some of these lines here we won't need. Oops. Just delete them. Also, but however, like some of these, something like this, you won't be able to just delete them because it deletes everything else. So we're going to use the trim command. Type in trim. Enter. We're going to select all our objects and press enter again. And then once you click on the lines that you don't want, they're going to just trim it off like that for you. Okay, this is just a test sample test, so you don't need to get every single line, but it's good to have a clean drawing for us to work with. So if you guys didn't get that, that was trim, enter, select all our objects, enter, and then start clicking away at the ones you don't want. You see here, we sort of missed out on creating our base. So what I'm going to do here is just type in polyline, actually just type in line, and I'm going to make up those lines here. Okay. And delete these ones. Oops. Create that, and that looks better, I think. You can also use the extend tool. Type in extend, click on one of the lines, click on the line you want to extend, and it will just extend those lines for you that are missing. All right, so quickly, I just want to show you how we can create a outlines layer. So that was new layer up here. Type in outlines. And then this is what we're going to use to show you how we can export these lines. So first thing I'm going to do is you can see that some of these are joined in ways that, you know, probably not to your liking. So let's select everything. And we're going to type in explode. So this separates all the lines. Okay, so somewhere like this. So we're going to type in ungroup. Okay, yeah. So select everything and let's type in ungroup as well. That should release some of those into individual lines. Yep. Okay, so for example, this building here, I want the outline. So we're going to just select those lines, the outlines of the buildings. Be careful, there's like little ones that are tricky. Just type in join. And then we're going to change this one into the outlines layer. So once you've typed in join, we're going to select the outlines, right click on the outlines layer, and choose change object layer. And you'll see that change when we change our color, yeah, to something like red. And then, so for all of us, it won't be changing to red because if we go into properties, we actually need to change this to by layer, display color by layer, and then it will change. So everyone just select all your lines, go to properties, and under display color, change it to by layer. Okay. All right, let's do one more. Let's do this outline here. Let's type in join. Let's change it to the outlines layer. Right click, change object layer. Okay, sometimes you might find that you have these tricky areas here that where you just want this segment, but you don't want that segment up here. We're going to click on the line. We're going to type in split. And we're going to cut this line with this line here. Enter. This will be split into 2 parts. Okay. So here we can join this. And that would all be one outline. So that was the split command. Selecting this object, split, and cutting it with this line. Okay, so I think this is what I'm going to keep for myself here. If you like, you can select everything and click join if you don't like small lines. All right. How are we all going? Tracy, can I move on to exporting or? Okay. All right. Let's select everything, all the lines. We're going to go to File, Export Selected. And then we're going to just go somewhere, maybe your desktop. And we're going to type in something, maybe like test. And then here we're going to change it to Adobe Illustrator file. Okay. Adobe Illustrator file, test, save. All right, so you're going to come up with something like this. This actually lets you export to scale. So that's something you can play around with. But for today, we're going to use snapshot of current view. I've put in some more details in the PDF file, so you can check that out. Let's do snapshot of current view and press OK. And that's saved to your desktop as an Illustrator file. And we can move into Illustrator now. All right, I'm just going to change over to my PowerPoint. Okay, can everyone see my Illustrator? Sorry, on my presentation screen?
Yep.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so that might have been a whirlwind for some, but don't worry, you can always just use our sample file. And I've just put in the line work for you there as well. So just open that up and we'll go into the next stage with that one. So moving on to AI, we're going to first of all change our hidden lines into solid lines just by unclicking dash line. And then we're going to start to vary our line widths. So as I mentioned before, there are actually 2 ways to start manipulating your drawing in Illustrator. The first is using the pen tool. The second is using the layer assignment. I've realized that it's actually great to do a combination of both if you can do it, but either way works. Pen tool is probably the easiest and the fastest, I would say, if you don't mind just redrawing your diagram a little bit. So first of all, let's set the line width by pen tool. We're going to lock our make 2D layer, so that's our base layers. We're going to use a pen tool to just draw over those lines that we want to make thicker. You can also set colors in this way by using the pen tool to draw those faces and set lines like that, and then color it without an outline. So just to make sure that you are on top of the layers in Illustrator, this is a new layer icon, which lets you to create a new layer. Make sure to rename those. And here is the lock section where you can lock and unlock. I would suggest you always to lock everything when you're not working on it and just unlock the one you're working on. So we're going to have bird, greenery, shadow, and outlines. So if you're using the layer assignment in Rhino, we would be able to select the joined lines, and then we can change that to an outline, layer. But I'll show you that in Illustrator. If you still have time, we can drop in a house and put in some little details. And this can be found in these free vector sites. I do have to let you know that if you're going to use them straight off from the site, that you need to make sure you attribute to them in your projects. So yeah, these two have free vectors like cars and people. And this is just like an example of a proposal that you might do, and then you want to show that in your site as well. So when you do build something in Illustrator, so in Rhino, and you want to pop that into your site diagram, just make sure you have set the same viewport settings so that the perspective is the same when you drop your new proposal in. So that was the isometric and whatever orientation you chose for that one. And then we can save it as a JPEG or PNG, and then you're ready to show us your masterpiece. And this Google Doc here, we'd love to see what you came up with. And it's totally fine if you use our sample file as well. But it would be great to see that. Some diagrams for thought is these are some really cool diagrams from BIG, also another architecture firm. You can check them out here, and I just found this Tumblr site which had really nice inspirations. So I think diagrams are a really great way for you to just show your ideas really simply, with some color, and just communicate your idea across in a really effective way. Okay, so let's get into Illustrator. Alrighty. Alright, so you're gonna see something like this. The first step is really just to blow this up a bit. So let's select everything by just dragging. And then we're going to use this little ledge to just drag it out. Oops. Okay, hold down Shift to make sure you're dragging it out on scale. Just about there. You notice that the hidden lines come out as dashed lines. So yeah, just make sure we're gonna change them to proper lines. So down here in stroke, or up here in stroke, click on that one and click on the line that's dashed and just uncheck that. Okay. So here we're gonna select everything, and then we're going to just move everything down to one layer, so we can delete this other one because the dashed lines come in a different file as well. All right. So using the pen tool, we're going to just start to apply some line weights. So first move we're going to do is lock this base drawing, and we're going to create another drawing by just hitting this icon here. We're going to rename this. So double click on layer 2 and rename it to outlines. And we're going to use the pen tool here. The P, you can click P or pen tool. And okay, sorry guys. One thing we're going to do, actually unlock this. Select everything again, unlock this. Unlock the Make 2D layer, select everything, and we're going to change the stroke to 0.5. Something a little smaller for us. So something a lot thinner and lighter. Lock that one. Go back into outlines layer and bring in the pen tool. And we're going to choose the stroke to be a 2-point. Okay, 2-point. And then we're just going to just draw the outlines of these buildings. And you'll see that the cursor actually snaps really closely to those lines. So when you finish off, make sure you see the little zero, like open O sign in your pen tool to show that it's going to be a closed curve. When you're done, press escape. Oh, no, escape. Press the selection tool up here on the canvas so you can just get out of that. Bring up the pen tool again or press P, and then let's do the other one. Okay, so that's how you can easily create and to okay, a keyboard shortcut for that is V. Once you've done P, press V, click anywhere on the screen, and that gets you out of it. So press P for pen tool, make your outlines. Press V and click anywhere on the screen. So that quickly draws up your outlines for you. Now let's set some color. So lock that one, make a new layer, bring up the pen tool, and here we're gonna rename this to, let's say, greenery. And before we draw anything down here, I want you to choose a green color. You know, something that signifies greenery. Any color you want. And for this outline here, I'm gonna press no fill. I don't want to fill for that. Okay, so lock the other two layers just so you're on greenery, and let's draw in some greenery color. Okay, press B. Okay, you notice that this is on top of our lines, right? So we're gonna have to bring this down, drag it down under the Make 2D so that we see the Make 2D lines first. So that was just dragging that down under there. So this is the same as the roads. So lock the greenery and we'll just type in roads. Bring up the pen tool again and let's draw a region for the road. B, click. And let's change that to maybe a gray. Or maybe actually, let's do a yellow. Okay, and make sure that's underneath your Make 2D lines. Okay, another one I want to show you is shadows. So lock the roads, make a new layer, rename it as shadows. The way I like to do this one is I like to usually choose two types of grays, a darker gray and a lighter gray, just to bring out some of the dimensionality of the buildings. So let's choose a darker gray now. And we can pick a face that you can imagine the sun to be shining on. So let's say, okay, I'm gonna just imagine that the sun is coming from this direction. So all of these faces are gonna be white. And probably the darker face would be this side face here, which has the darkest. And then this top will probably be my light grays. Okay, so let's follow that sort of method and just have everything else locked. Bring up the pen tool. Let's color in those faces. A little bit bad for me. Okay, pen tool. You could also do the side as well if you wanted to. All right, so then now we're gonna choose a different color. Maybe just a slightly lighter gray. I'm gonna color in these ones here. Yeah. Okay, so I think that can bring out a little bit more dimensionality. That maybe you could wonder what this looks like if we made that into gray. That looks a little better. So yeah, there's different ways for you to color this. You guys keep working. I'm just gonna show you the other way to do the layer assignment and how that works. So I'm just gonna open up the one we just did, like this, and you can see that it brings in and exports the outlines layer from Rhino. So that's pretty handy for us because we can click on it and it's already one layer. And we can just change it up here to 2 point. Just change the color. So yeah, I would say this is quite handy. If you know that you have specific lines that you know are gonna need to be thicker, you can just change up that line work in Rhino. And I think Rhino is a little better in adding lines and deleting lines. It can be a little bit fiddly in Illustrator. For example, though, I think for regions, especially regions that share an existing line, you might have to duplicate this line and create those outlines in Rhino. So, and you might have to do a bit of splitting and so forth. So I think the best is a combination of both, where you might actually just say, I just want my outlines to be in one layer, and I can just export it and make all those thicker. And for the rest of the regional colors, I'm just going to use the pen tool. That's probably easier than trying to split all these little lines in Rhino. Yep. So if you want to just pop in a house as well, you can just drag in one of these from the house AI file. Just copy and paste. And scale it up a bit. Make sure that's, oops. Make sure you put that on a new layer as well. Just press new layer and drag this little guy up to the layer you want. All right, any questions, guys? It's probably finishes the formal part of the tutorial. All right, so when you signed in, you would see something like this. And you know, you might say something like Central Sydney. Okay, not sure that's not coming up for me. Sydney, Australia, great. So okay, let's just go somewhere random here. Okay, so if you zoom in, that sort of gives you the size here. But if you sort of are out like that and it doesn't let you sort of choose that free file, you just need to drag this down so that it goes under that 1 kilometer area. So this is sort of a rectangle, so you can just drag it freeform. And then also you just use the hand tool to pan it. So yep, you've set the area you want to download. Also, I found out that you can put in an address by getting the latitude and longitudinal sort of values, which you can get from Google Maps. So when you just copy that in, it will zoom into the certain area that you want. So here, select Rhino 5. And then here, this is just to say that if there isn't any building data, how many meters do you want to set it as the default? So the way I think about this is if you know that you're in a sort of residential area, then I would say, 3-4 meters for the surrounding houses. But if it's somewhere like the city and you know that usually there's like 3-4 story high buildings, then you would say, 9 to 12 meters. I'll be setting that as. It just depends on where you are. Just say here 8 meters for now. And this topography, the default is by 5, but you could have smaller sort of range of topography by setting it to like 1 or 2 meters, or if that doesn't matter to you too much, you can even just uncheck that as well. Here, the road geometry, I've just set it as outlines and just kept these as the default. I think that isn't too bad. However, if you know the highways around here are wider, like they're more than 3 or 4 lanes, then you can change that here to your liking. So you're happy with that area and just press create file. And there's some of the details, how many buildings there are, etc. And then here's that like AXO file, what that would look like. I think the city has pretty good data. That's why it's got all those buildings and those things drawn out for you. So that's really great if your site is in the city. And you can just download it here by clicking download. So it'll come up as a zip file. So yeah, you'll just have to open that up and just drag this into like a desktop or something. And that would take it out of the zip file. And open that up. And then you'll get something like this. So we can change it to a cursor view. It's pretty cool to see our city like that. Yeah. I hope that answered your question, and I hope that it's pretty easy to use, I'd say. CAD
Yeah,
mapper.
thank you very much.
No worries. I'll just show you as well how you can get those longitudinal values. So once you've clicked on like an address, like maybe Maze Crescent, if you just right click, there are your values that you can just click on. They'll automatically copy for you. And let's just try that. Just stick them in here. Paste, enter. Yep, that should bring us not directly to the building, but in that area. So let's just say, okay, maybe we can grab a little area here, 100 by 100. Okay. think I'm gonna do a clipping plane for this one. Clipping plane. Not sure if you guys know about the Rhino 101 webinar that I ran last week. But I've also put in some ways to how to do a section and clipping plane in there. So if you type in clipping plane, that's gonna give you an ability to create a plane that we can see and visualize what that might be, what the model might look like if we cut it. So it's gonna ask for you to draw a rectangle. So let's just draw any size rectangle. And just in properties, you should be able to see, if you drag this up and down, how the model will be cut at a certain plane. So if we want to do a section, we just have to rotate this 90 degrees. Just get a section, maybe something like that. And you can set this as well in whatever view you would like. So obviously with a perspective view, so that's been checked. If you don't see these things happening, that's probably because it's not been checked here. So make sure you have these ticked on, and flip direction just shows you which direction you want to see the actual section. So for a section, we wanted to do it probably in is it the right view? Let's just have a look. Is that the direction we want? Yep, that looks pretty good. That's the right view. And let's just check. Click on the clipping plane, and let's just check that the right view has been checked. So that looks good. And we're just gonna select everything, and we're going to say, I won't do the cutting bit here, but you can obviously cut it down or whatever. I'm just gonna say make 2D. And make sure here the clipping plane intersections has been checked. And press OK. Let's hopefully that gives us what we want. Get back to the top view. Yep, drag it out. Yeah, that's pretty nice. There's obviously some missing lines there that you need to clean up. And some things that you need to delete. Not a problem. We can just use the trim command again. Select everything and just start trimming that you don't want. I guess for a section, I would say the section line is very important. So the line that actually cuts through the ground, and I would always make sure that this section line, so for us, it's this line here. That's kind of conveniently be placed. There's one line for us. There's a bit of a confusion here, but we can edit this by clicking on the line. We can actually type in isolate. That will just isolate that one line, and ungroup, and then start to delete those extra things we don't want. Okay, and then I would join that back up again. Be joined, it's already joined, that's good. Unisolate to go back into the view. And let's export this. File, export selected. I think if I had more time, I would actually clean this up a bit more. Right, so you can get something like this, which the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that they are in a very thinner line weight. Okay, so make sure you want to delete those ugly lines. I would always make the section line much thicker. Yep. And really important thing to remember about a section, I should have done this for you beforehand, is whatever that section line cuts, that should also be in a thicker line. And then everything behind it, Like if you know that these buildings are behind and the furthest away, that should probably be the thinnest. And so just to give, that sense of perspective, and that's what I would recommend. Okay, I think we should wrap up now. So I just want to thank you guys for attending today and hope you got something out of it and that it wasn't too fast. But yeah, there'll be a recording for you to take a look at later.